Medina, an Islamic holy city in Arabia, underwent a long siege during World War I. Medina was at the time part of the Ottoman Empire. In the war, the Ottoman Empire sided with the Central Powers. Sharif Hussein of Mecca betrayed and revolted against the Caliph and the Ottoman Empire, which, under the leadership of the secular and nationalistic Young Turks, had ignored the wishes of the Caliph and sided with the Central Powers. Hussein instead sided with the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland in the thick of war. T.E. Lawrence was instrumental in this revolt. Hussein occupied Mecca and besieged Medina. It was one of the longest sieges in history that lasted till even after the end of war. Faridun Pasha was the defender of Medina. He was called the Lion of the Desert by the British for his patriotism in Medina. The siege lasted 2 years and 7 months. Events. In June 1916, Sharif Hussein, the Hashemite ruler of Mecca, revolted against the Ottoman Empire, which, under the rule of the Young Turks, had by that time begun movement towards ethnic nationalism and was marginalizing the office of the Caliph. Hussein wanted to move north and create an Arab state from Yemen to Damascus and establish a Hashemite caliphate. Medina was, at the time, deemed important in that regard and was connected to the Ottoman Empire through a railway line. Hussein's forces besieged Medina, beginning in 1916 and lasting till January 1919. With British support, an initial attack led by Hussein's son Faisal was launched against Medina in October 1916. However, the Arabs were repulsed with heavy losses by the Turks, who were heavily entrenched and armed with artillery, which the Arabs lacked. As the Arab revolt slowly spread northwards along the Red Sea, British and Arab strategy for capturing Medina changed, and Faisal and his advisors was determined that the Arabs would gain an advantage by leaving Medina unoccupied. This would force the Turks to retain troops to defend Medina, and to protect the Hejaz Railway, the only means of supplying the city. For this purpose, Nuri is said set about creating military training camps in Mecca under the direction of General Aziz Ali al-Masri, using a mix of Bedouin volunteers, Arab officers and Arab Ottoman deserters who wanted to join the Arab revolt. Aziz Ali created 3 infantry brigades, a mounted brigade, an engineering unit, and 3 different artillery groups made up of a patchwork of varying cannon and heavy-caliber machine guns. Of his total force of 30,000, Aziz Ali proposed that it be divided into 3 armies. The Eastern Army under the command of Prince Abdullah bin Hussein would be in charge of surrounding Medina from the east. The Southern Army, commanded by Prince Ali bin Hussein, would ensure a cordon was formed around Medina from the south. The Northern Army, commanded by Prince Faisal, would form a cordon around Medina from the north. These armies had a mixture of British and French officers attached to them who provided technical military advice. One of these officers was T.E. Lawrence, the defending commander of the Ottoman garrison in Medina. Faridun Pasha was besieged by Arab forces, but tenaciously he defended the holy city. Faridun Pasha not only had to defend Medina but also protect the single-track narrow-gauge Hejaz Railway from sabotage attacks by T.E. Lawrence and his Arab forces, on which his entire logistics depended. Turkish garrisons of the isolated small train stations withstood the continuous night attacks and secured the tracks against increasing number of sabotagers. With the resignation of the Ottoman Empire from the war with the Armistice of Mudros between Ottoman Empire and Entente on 30 October 1918, it was expected that Faridun Pasha would also surrender. He refused and did not surrender even after the end of the war despite pleas from the Ottoman Sultan. He held the city until 72 days after the end of the war. After the Armistice of Mudros, the closest Ottoman unit was 1,300 kilometers away from Medina. Eventually, his men faced starvation due to a lack of supplies, and the remaining garrison, including Farid and Pasha, surrendered on 10 January 1919. Abdullah I of Jordan and his troops entered Medina on 13 January 1919. After the surrender, the Arab troops looted the city for 12 days. Overall, 4,850 houses which were locked and put under seal by Farid and Pasha were opened forcefully and looted. About 8,000 men of the Turkish garrison were evacuated to Egypt after their surrender. Besides the evacuated, some died of disease and others dispersed on their own to various areas. The weapons and ammunition of the garrison were left to the besiegers.